everybody. Welcome back to the Montana PBS Media Lab, Digital Storytelling with Finding Your Roots. Many of you were here last week. If you weren't, my name's Nikki Bradenberg, and we're really excited to have you back this week to talk a little bit more about finding your roots in digital storytelling, and also have you learn about stop motion studio from my good friend, Tracy Pills. I'm sharing the screen, so I'm going to let Tracy take over introducing yourselves. I'm still letting people in, and you can keep talking now, Tracy, and I'll let people in.
Sounds good. Awesome. Nice to see so many people here and from different places all over Montana. That's awesome. My name is Tracy Piltz. I'm in Billings. I am currently a tech integration specialist for the district. I work a lot with our teachers of littles, kindergarten through about third grade, and my classroom teaching experience is with kindergarten, which is when I had the lucky opportunity to meet Nikki. We were both teaching kindergarten at the time, and so I've been happy to, once she moved into her role at Montana PBS, to continue to work with her and participate in all these wonderful learning opportunities that Montana PBS puts together. So I'm super excited just to be here learning. I'm really excited about this finding your roots and how this can be applied. I know it's for middle and high school, but how we can kind of adapt it for our younger students. And then to be able to share, this is such a simple app, I think, Nikki, and one that I just kind of forget about. We did some projects in second grade last week to kind of practice for tonight. So I had some examples. And again, I just forget how simple it is, but how fun and engaging and impactful and just, I mean, you could do so many things with it. So I'm just super excited to be here and get to share tonight.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and we'll, like last time, this is going to be a little different than last time, because last time it was more of an overview of the workshop series, and we looked at resources. We didn't really learn how to use a digital storytelling tool. So this workshop will look and feel like the rest of the series. So we'll start by going through the Media Lab and what that is, just an overview to our friends that weren't here last time. I'll talk about finding your roots in the new season and show you some clips again from the new season, and invite you to discuss and share your thoughts about those clips and, you know, where you think they might fit in your classroom and experiences with students. And then I hand it over to Tracy, and she's going to get into the nuts and bolts of the stop motion app. And we hope that your creativity will help you connect. If I do a digital storytelling activity in my classroom and I use finding your roots to inspire some kind of a family research project, the final product, the culminating product with the kiddos could be some kind of a stop motion activity. So through the goals of our Montana Media Lab workshop, the goal of this is to help you use finding your roots, hopefully be inspired by finding your roots in some way or another. Like I said before, we got a grant to host these workshops from WETA, which is the PBS station in Washington, D.C. that produces the show Finding Your Roots. And they wanted us to conduct teacher training events. It was a great opportunity for us to combine the show with an existing series of workshops and use digital storytelling to kind of bridge the two. The goal would be great if you wanted to use the clips and show them to your class. But I also think if they inspire you to just want to do digital storytelling and family research, that's good enough. You can watch Finding Your Roots on Tuesday nights on Montana PBS. We've got the new series. The new season is out right now. And we're mostly supposed to be promoting that show as well. We also hope that you get some new ideas and new applications for using digital storytelling. We also had to have two partners on this grant. Humanities Montana and the Montana Historical Society were both gracious enough to partner with us, and so they've helped us to promote it. They've shared resources that they have that align to our themes. And last week we had Zoe on from the Historical Society, and she was wonderful and shared a lot of great ideas. and she gave me some great ones to share this evening as well. And then we hope that you will be so inspired to have students create digital storytelling projects, and that they'll be so good that you will share them with us and let us show them to our audience either on air or online. So that's, you don't have to, it's not a requirement, but it's an invitation that we would love to see the students' work that results from this series. So as I said before, if you're here for some training to get some lesson ideas. We don't spend 2 hours talking at you. That's a big part of the design of this series, is that we want to give you some ideas. We want to inspire you. We want to keep it open and informal. So if you want to ask questions or share your own ideas, you're invited to do that. But then we really do at one point, we will stop talking and we will invite you to go explore, to play with the tools, to look at the resources, to kind of get really comfortable using the stop motion app tonight, so that you would feel comfortable implementing it with your students tomorrow. I'm going to share a couple clips from Finding Your Roots. As I've said before, this show is on Montana PBS. The new season started in early January. It is a program hosted by Henry Louis Gates, who brings a celebrity onto the show, and the show's genealogy experts and researchers dig into this celebrity's past. And Henry Louis Gates sits at a table and he hands them the Book of Life, which is a big scrapbook full of pictures and primary source documents that they've uncovered about this person's life. And the theme of this season is sort of the stories that haven't been told. And maybe there's some kind of a bigger reason of why families have kept these things a secret. And a lot of the stories are people who have maybe not great things in their history. Tonight we'll look at a clip from a man whose family was exiled from Cuba. And because that was such a painful time for his family, he never felt comfortable asking questions about those stories and where his heritage, what his heritage was all about. You can watch this on television, but you can also stream Finding Your Roots online through our PBS Passport program, which unfortunately is not free. It's a membership benefit to being a donor or a member of Montana PBS. If you pay, I think, $5 a month, you get access to Passport, and then you can stream all the PBS content that there is on any of your devices. We are going to give away one Montana PBS membership tonight. Last week we gave it away. I believe Jeanette is here, and she was our lucky winner last week to get the Montana PBS Passport. So we will give that away as one of our prizes this evening. Passport is not meant to be streamed in public settings like schools, however. Those shows are only licensed for in-home entertainment, not for educational or large group use. So we don't want you to use it in your school. All right, so that was the series trailer, which, as I said, this season is all about telling untold stories and really encouraging people to dig into their family's past. And obviously, that can be tricky. We want to do that in the classroom, and so we want to encourage you that if you do family research and your kids uncover things that create some uncomfortable feelings for everyone, maybe let guidance counselors know that you're having this, you're doing this project, and have them give you some support while you're doing things like this, just in case kids stumble on truths and stories that are upsetting, or interactions that can happen from all this. So that's kind of our disclaimer, because I think Tracy and I, both from an elementary background, both think, ooh, we don't want that to get unpleasant. But I think any of our older kids probably can handle most of what they're going to learn. This next trailer is featuring an actor by the name of Raul Esparza, whose family was exiled from Cuba, and he did not know much about his family history prior to this exercise with Henry Louis Gates, and learned some interesting things about his grandma that kind of conflicted with what he had always known of her. The person he remembered her as was very different from what the story that his history told. So I'm going to show this video.
I can definitely see, again, Nikki and I, our experiences kind of with littles, but I could definitely see how engaging being able to show a little clip or a piece of that and really get, kids kind of thinking about. I remember when I was in high school, anything that I could learn about my parents, when they were our age or your grandparents, just kind of their history and stuff was just so fascinating. So
thinking of our parents as younger or our grandparents as younger, always just feels like,
and now at the time they were way younger than I am right now.
Yes.
It's all mind-boggling. Oh, I think I just left this kind of slide in here. This is just sort of that overview, I think, about the digital storytelling and sort of the goals of these Media Lab projects is, just engaging students in being able to create in some way using these different multimedia tools, what they're learning instead of, maybe having fill out a worksheet or a multiple choice test or something to show you what they know, to really engage them in making something that they could actually share in some way with an authentic audience to really, synthesize that learning and make it into one of these wonderful projects. So again, just many of the things that you'll learn how to create over the course of these Media Lab series. Today, we're going to chat about the stop motion app. And it's called Stop Motion Studio. There are other stop motion apps. Of course, there's always more than one thing that will accomplish your goal. But for the purpose of this workshop, this I really feel is probably the most widely used stop motion tool that I've seen in the years that I've kind of been involved with EdTech. So you can use this app. I know what I want to say, but I'm not sure what order it's in on the slides. So you can use this app. I've used it solely on iPads, but you can also use it. So I put these links in here so you can kind of check out. I don't know why it's called. Is it really Cat Eater? Do you think Cat Eater?
I don't know. Looking at that page, it was like, what is strange URL?
I'm like, it felt to me like, okay, somebody had a startup and they were like, what's a really funny like website name that we could come up with? And then they actually got popular and they were stuck with this like funny website name. I don't know. That's my story.
Product. Yeah.
Yes. But if you do visit the website, it does go into a little bit more detail about the apps that can be used on Chromebooks and laptops. So for my purposes, I'm kind of going to be showing the iOS app. That's what I've used most. You'll also notice the color. So my app is blue, which I think is the free version. Sometimes there's like a pinkish, purplish colored one, and that's the premium version. And when we open the app, we'll kind of take a peek at what you can do. It can be a pretty powerful video tool with the paid premium version. I have never used the paid version. What I've created is always just been with the free app. So I would definitely recommend starting with the free app. If you find that you're using it a lot and you're looking, you would really like to use some of those additional features, then it might be worth investing some money into getting that premium version. But for purposes of just sort of playing around and exploring and trying it, the free version is plenty. So again, here it shows the different platforms that it's available on, and kind of you'll notice some of the pricing on there. But that pink, when you see the pink one, that would be that premium version of the same app. This was a video that's on the PBS Learning Media website. They have some fantastic resources, and I just thought this was such a great kind of introduction. I'll start playing it. I can't remember exactly how long it is. I don't know if I'll play the whole thing, but I'm going to go ahead and start playing it because I think this is a great overview of what stop motion can be.
Whenever we come up with our STLP projects, I like to talk to the kids. What ideas do you have? Because I don't want it to be about me. I don't want me. I'll offer ideas, but I want them to try to have input. And if they have an idea, most of the time their ideas are better than mine anyway. So I threw it out at the beginning of the year, and we had some students who were new to STLP, new to the junior high. And one of them said, well, you know, we did this project last year and I really like it. And I think we could do some more with it this year. So they said, let's try the stop motion animation. And we had probably 5 ideas, and we threw them out to everybody in STLP, and the students said, let's try the stop motion. I think it would be good. And then from there, we just kind of decided, what do we want to do with stop motion? How are we going to, you know, what project is that? What are we going to do with that? That's the technical part. Now, what else? I know a couple of teachers who are doing it right now with their students. One of the teachers actually just kind of threw that out as an option for her kids to do, along with some other options. This is your project. Here are some different ways that you can use it. So some of them took the stop motion and decided to do stop motion for their projects. And then another teacher, that was what he gave them their topic. And from that, they had to build upon it, but they had to use stop motion to do it.
Diana Wolf, who is our queen of all things technology, she knows that I love technology. So anything she hears about something, she'll say, have you tried this? And so I'll do it, and I'll just turn it into whatever our project that we're doing. That's how we're going to do it for that time.
Mr. Van Meter, my 7th period teacher, he got us introduced to it because he was talking to us about stop motion, and like we'd watch YouTube videos about it and like how to do it. And then my partner, she downloaded it on her phone, and that's how it started.
What's the thing you do when it's funny because the teachers will say,
I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. Again, you have these slides. So this is on, it looks like slide 15, and you can finish. But I just wanted to pause for a minute and just ask sort of what you notice about stop motion from that video. Did anything stand out to you that you noticed? I'm gonna make sure I have my chat up. You're welcome to drop it in the chat, but you can also unmute and just share as well. While you're thinking for a minute, I'm going to click on this link just so you can see. Can you see the Learning Media website? Sometimes I'm not sure if I've shared it right. Just so you see that there are some just fantastic resources here. So again, kind of as you're following along, feel free to click on this link and just kind of click around. There's lots of support materials. That video is also embedded right here, but there's some wonderful resources there as you're thinking about and planning these stop motion projects. Oh, I like that. Explain a process to break things into. I like the idea of breaking things into steps. So this would be perfect for that because it is such a kind of one thing at a time. Each child used it in a unique way, no cookie cutter method. Awesome, Deb. That's kind of what I was noticing too. And the teacher, as she was explaining too, was talking about giving the kids that choice. I know that this is a goal of Nikki's in this these media labs. Hopefully by the end, you'll have learned all of these wonderful tools that allow your students to make media. You wouldn't necessarily teach them all of them, but maybe you teach them 2 or 3 of these tools, and then you get to say, okay, we've learned all of this. Now I want you to explain what you've learned. You get to choose from these, wonderful tools that we've been practicing. Maybe you're going to make an ebook. Maybe you're going to make a stop motion. Maybe you're going to make a comic. And just to give them that choice and ownership. And so I that really spoke to me in this video. Nothing was the same. I also saw so much collaboration happening. It wasn't just a kid staring at a screen, doing their own thing on a computer, on an iPad. There is so much planning and talking and working together and communicating and collaborating. they were drawing, right? There was lots of kinesthetic and hands-on things happening. And then they were just sort of documenting and taking those pictures using the stop motion app. But so much of the work was happening through those conversations and drawings and writing that they were doing. Just going to check the chat really quick. Okay. Awesome. Slides never want you to actually move past a video without watching it many, many times. So I'm going to show you just a couple of quick examples. Again, I tried to kind of brainstorm to me this whole idea of finding your roots and what that sort of might look like in a elementary classroom, which I realize is probably different than how it would look in a middle and high school classroom, just because of the content and the maturity of your students. You all are the experts in your grade levels and content. So what I'm really hoping is that you'll see some of these examples, you'll see how the app works, and it'll really spark some ideas, and you'll make some of those connections with what you teach. This one I made with my daughter and my mom. We are, my grandparents were Norwegian. And so a tradition in our family was always getting together and making lefse. And so we had planned it. We always try to do this every January. And so I was like, Mom, I have an idea. While we're making lefse, could we be taking pictures, and then we can kind of document this? And beyond the stop motion, it was just really a lovely time, because as we were taking pictures, my mom was kind of asking Sloan about the project and then sort of sharing those family stories back and forth. So it really did make that time that we had together really special. And then we have this fun little video to show too. We didn't add any sound or anything. It's a pretty quick one. So I'm just going to play it for you, and then we can kind of chat about it. So really short, really simple. Again, that idea of showing a process, I really thought this was kind of fun, how you could really look and see, oh, it started as a ball and we rolled it out, and then how she had to pick it up. And I just thought it was such a really unique and fun way of really showing the steps in that process. A regular movie video might have been pretty long and lengthy to show all of that, or would have taken a lot of editing to make it more concise. This was just such a quick, fun way to do that. I did kind of joke that maybe I needed a more flower-proof iPad cover while we were making it, because we had a pretty giant mess happening and pretty much everything we touched was covered in flour. But again, this stop motion idea is just many still photos kind of pushed together, then to create this one movie or GIF that you could then share. So I think it's nice too, because it's not as like, you don't have to have a large chunk of time sitting there and interviewing someone. Maybe you will just have time to take a few photos, and then you can go back and add more to that later. I always try to think of examples for students. So you guys might be able to help me with that, because I always struggle with this part. The few that I do know, now these kids are getting where those shows are so old, they don't even know what they are anymore. Like one that's really popular, I always mention, is that Wallace and Gromit. Have you watched that? They had no idea what I was talking about. So sometimes I'll mention like the Lego movie, but just trying to make that connection or show them some kind of example, because especially the elementary students I've worked with, they really don't understand what this is until they see an example, or can kind of make a connection with something they've seen. And then they're like, oh, we did this in second grade last week. And one of the little boys has an older brother who apparently is super into doing this with Legos. So that was kind of fun, because he he knew tons about doing it and had watched his brother do it. So making some kind of connection with them or showing them some kind of example, I think really helps to get them excited about doing something like this. And then see, I can't get past it. And then another example we did was really just using paper. Again, you could use this with any topic. I was trying to, again, connect to that, like learning more about your family and your history. In our libraries, our Indian Ed for All team has purchased this book. It's called I Am Native, and it's really a wonderful book. There's a link to it here. So if you have the slides, you can link to it. I think on her website, there's a video of the author reading it as well. So if you don't have the print book, you can play that read aloud. Again, this was for younger students. I think older kids really I know I like listening to these picture books. And so I still think you can use these picture books and make connections with older students too. But it really kind of just talks about, I think, making those, I guess, cultural connections. It'll say like, I am Native, but it shows like, I'm a basketball player. I'm riding horses. I like to play the guitar with my uncle. And so we read it, and then we just sort of brainstormed things that we like to do in our own lives with our families. And then they just used paper. They cut out characters and they made backgrounds. So again, a very simple activity that could be done with any topic whatsoever. Have some kind of background, whatever pieces you want them to move and manipulate. They draw separately, cut those out so that they can move them around. It's a little unsteady, so you've been warned. This one actually isn't too bad. Some of them got a little crazy, but what she was depicting was cooking. She says she loves to cook with her mom. So they're in the kitchen, and then she and her mom are kind of moving. They had been at the stove and they were baking cupcakes and things. So again, you can think about how, if you had more time, went a little bit more in depth, took more photos, this could really be shown or used to show a lengthy process of something. There are some high school examples on here that Nikki had from before. I'll just show one of these. And again, not related to the topic, but just a good example.
Nuclear fission is the splitting of unstable isotopes into smaller fragments. First, a neutron bombards the nucleus of a fissionable isotope such as uranium-235, turning it into uranium-236. Due to its instability, the nuclei then splits, releasing 3 neutrons and lots of energy. This then continues in a chain reaction where the 3 neutrons bombard 3 new uranium-235 atoms. This process is used in making nuclear power and in the nuclear bomb.
I wish I was smart enough to know what any of that meant, but it was wonderful. Play-Doh or clay like they used, I think, is a really popular sort of tactical element you could use with this. Legos, really anything though that can be moved and manipulated. We did those ones that I just showed you where they'd drawn the pictures, and some of them got done, and so they had a few extra minutes. I mean, they were just making movies of like moving a crayon across their desk because they were just really wanted to practice and play more with it and having a great time doing that. One thing that I think is interesting to note too is just to add text, like in this example that we just watched, how they just sort of wrote captions or labels or whatever important pieces of information. And that can be steady in all of the shots or something that you kind of move in, but you can add, dialogue or text by, I can see down here on this one, it's just kind of written on the whiteboard. So you can be creative in how you add some of that text in there as well. There's a couple of other elementary examples. I'm just going to kind of leave those and let you watch those on your own, because I would love to just be able to show you the app itself. So I want to be sure that we kind of get into there. Some ideas, I guess, that I had sort of brainstormed to make these projects and connect it to the Finding Your Roots ideas are, just telling a story of that moment in your family's history, something that you learned, whether it's photographs or taking pictures of grandma or drawing things and moving. Nikki had an awesome idea. I've meant to try it and I never got it done, but just showing how you could have your family tree, the pieces, whether they're just names or pictures, and then using stop motion to kind of move those into the project and show how that tree would all come together would be really cool. Family video, again, whether they're real photographs or drawings, sharing a recipe or how you, would cook or bake a family tradition. And then again, be really creative using the photos, any kind of objects, clay, Legos, or drawings in your animation. You can really just be super creative with what you utilize. So the Stop Motion Studio app, this just kind of shows you the, dashboard maybe. You can see this when you're inside the app, which we'll do in just a second. If you click on the little question mark, it will show you all of these labels and kind of pop these labels up to show you what all of the buttons do. So this is just a screenshot from inside the app, kind of showing you what these buttons do. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this. And this always starts creating so many windows that I get lost. Can you get lost in a computer? I believe I'm there.
I get lost all the time.
There we go. All right. So you should be looking at my iPad now. And Nikki, were there any questions or anything that we should stop and answer? Are we good?
No, Jody just wanted to clarify, this is an app. It doesn't just work on Apple products. It does, if you have any kind of tablet, it can be downloaded too. And that's what we've used it the most, but we can put it on Chromebooks. It can be on the paid version works on like your Mac or your Windows machine. I don't believe a free version works on your desktop computer. So we kind of think of it as just an application for mobile devices. So your tablets or your Chromebooks, if that makes any sense. And it does need to be downloaded wherever you get apps. So with Apple, it's in the App Store, or Google, it comes from Google Play. And so if you want these on your devices, you may have to talk to your tech department to get those downloaded, because it's different from some of our other websites. So just clarifying that.
Yeah, that piece I think is a little confusing, and especially the different free and paid and all the different platforms. It is, I know that I know here in Billings anyway, everything has to sort of be vetted and reviewed and go through that data privacy, review right now. There's nothing here that collects student data. There's no login or sign in or connect to their Google account or anything like that. So, it shouldn't be an issue as far as that, like data and privacy, just so you're aware, I guess, of that piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and tap it open. The first time you open it on your device, it actually starts with I think there's like a little chameleon on there. And if you watch that video, it does kind of walk you through a little bit of a example tutorial sort of thing. You can also tap over on the side here. When you tap that little light bulb, there are some tutorials in here as well. So get started with stop motion, and then it just kind of takes you through some of the different features. Again, some of them are going to be paid features, but maybe you watch the video and see if it's something that you think you just can't possibly live without. So that was just kind of hiding in that little light bulb there. To start our new movie, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the plus sign here. just sort of logistically, I think it's really helpful to have, like on that video, how they were working with partners. They can take it on their own. It's really nice to have a helper. And I think it's a great way to make using technology sort of collaborative too. So to put them in pairs, where one of them is sort of the iPad holder and taking pictures, and one of them's moving the items, I think can be a really nice collaborative project. Some classrooms have stands. If you have a stand that you can use to put your iPad up and obviously keep it a little bit steady, that's really nice too. I am probably I'm like hooked to this cord so I can display to you. So that's going to be a little bit tricky for this demo. So just my disclaimer that it might be a little messy. Typically, you wouldn't have this cord attached here, so you could just sort of take your pictures. I also usually have the kids like stand up because, to be kind of standing up over above what they're taking a picture of is a lot easier. What I see a lot is they're taking pictures and they kind of like tilt it. And so they're getting edges of like all the rest of everything in it. So if they can be sort of standing up above, I'm going to grab a book too, just so there's something besides just this white desk here. Oh, I think you sent this to me, Nikki. Sloan's been coloring. I'm going to turn this light off too.
Yes, the Bob Ross coloring book.
Please,
everyone loves that.
Something that I also think is kind of helpful, I think I'm gonna have to stand up. Something that's kind of helpful too is having a certain background. So it wouldn't necessarily be the Bob Ross coloring book, but you'll notice that if I have something in the background, it's a lot easier for me to kind of get an idea of where I should be. So I learned that from Desiree Caskey. Like, she'll give them a piece of paper that she wants them to use, even if they're just building like with letters or something. Like, this paper is your background or your workspace, because it gives them a little bit more of just that area that they should stay in. I'm going to play around. I'm going to get rid of Bob Ross for this project though. I grabbed one of my son's Legos. So I'm just going to kind of show you how this might work. Whatever object you're trying to move in, I usually kind of start it over here on the side, depending on what you want to accomplish here. Maybe I'll lay her down. She might have to go like that. And then I'm just going to start taking pictures with that red button over on the side. The more pictures, the better. The slower you move your object, the more dramatic that movement's going to be. If you just pick it up and it's over here, you're not going to actually see much of that movement. So if I'm trying to show some kind of movement, I'm just like very slowly, the teeniest bit at a time, moving that figure and then just continuing to take pictures. You can see where it would be really helpful to have that second person, so that one person could be kind of moving whatever objects they are, and then the other person could be taking these pictures. Now, I have hardly any pictures here at all. I only have about 8. You can kind of see along the bottom here. So this is going to be really fast. I'm going to click that play button. But you see how even just in that little amount of time, we were able to give her that little bit of movement. I always say the more pictures, the better. The more that they have in there, the more that they're going to be able to show, and the more they're going to be able to share. Typically, I tell them like 20 to 30, like very minimum. So they do need, I think they're used to us telling them, don't just take a bunch of pictures. And so now we're saying, yes, you need to take lots and lots of pictures. So really encouraging them to take as many pictures as possible. You can tap on a picture once you've taken it and delete if you need. A lot of times, something's moving and it gets blurry because we take the picture too fast, or somebody's hand shows up in it. You can delete. The other things that you see here are, I believe, mostly premium features that you see here. If you click on something, let's say audio, Oh, it actually will let us put in, it looks like it'll let us put in sound effects. I know that inserting, sorry, I'm just trying to get that menu. Oh, here we go. Add images. Okay. I was just trying to get to this menu here. So if you try to do something that's premium, it just kind of shows you that you have to. But you can see that there's a lot you can do with green screen, adding images. Right now on the free version, I can't take pictures that I already have on my iPad and insert them. I have to take them all live like I just did here. So you can kind of play around a little bit and see if you are doing a more in-depth project, the types of things that would be there. You can add audio. You'll notice that there's a microphone. So you can add a voiceover. Again, that's where it's important to have lots of pictures. My video right now is going to go so fast that I would barely have time to say anything before it reached the end of my movie. So that's something to kind of practice with your students. If there is an audio element that you want them to include, the pacing and the length of the video are really important to get those audio elements in there. They can also adjust, they can adjust the speed of the video. So when you click on that like little timer, I don't know, I think it looks like a timer, but they can adjust the speed. So if they want it to go more quickly, or if they want to slow it down a little bit, you can do a little bit of adjustments there with the speed. Titles and credits, I had a lot of kids clicking on that. Again, that's not something that you can do without unlocking that premium version. So if you did want to get fancy, I noticed they had like an end, a title card and an end card on that high school example that we watched. Either unlocking that premium version, or once you export this, you could put it into another program like iMovie or Apple Clips, and then you could add some of those additional elements into it from there if you wanted to add those types of things. But the free version is pretty like, you're looking at, pretty much what you can do. It is a pretty basic, but I do think it is so open-ended. There are a million different things that you could think to do with this app because it is so incredibly open-ended. Sharing from here is really easy. I'll first of all say everything's saved. So if I just kind of stopped here, I was going to add more characters or add more elements, I could just click on this sort of back arrow and it's going to be saved on this device until I want to come back to it. The next time I tap it open, I could continue to add to it. Or if I'm ready to share, I just kind of click on this little share button here and it gives me a few different ways to share it. I usually export it as a movie. It's a pretty friendly format to then be able to put other places. We use a lot of Seesaw. You could put it in Google Classroom or on a Google site, or however you choose to share with your students and families. You can also make a GIF, and I was just kind of playing with that. I thought, well, since I'm not putting audio in, a GIF is kind of fun too, because then it just sort of plays on a loop. So there's not a huge difference between the movie and the GIF. The GIF is just kind of showing movement. I saved it over here. Let's see if I can get to it. This one, I believe, was the GIF. So it still just kind of plays, but then it doesn't stop. It just kind of continues to play on a loop. This, I know it wouldn't upload to Seesaw as a GIF, so I think just kind of knowing where you're sharing, knowing what file format will work great. I had never done the flip book, so I was just kind of curious. So I exported it as a flip book too, and it looks like what it does is just export every image as it's making a PDF. So then you could actually put it together as a physical book, and then how you just kind of grab it and flip it, and it should show that movement just like you would when you drew out a flip book. And I thought that was a really kind of cool idea, maybe something to play with. But you could export that as a flip book. It made a PDF, and then these could be printed and used as a flip book. So Now I'm thinking about that. Kind of fun. That was a pretty quick. I'm hoping you have your device open and you're kind of playing around. So I'm just going to kind of stop for a minute and let you explore. Finishing up your exploration, I just wanted to be sure to make you aware of this slide. In that slide deck, the PBS Learning Media has some awesome, there was some I'd seen before and some that was new to me that Nikki showed me, but some just really great resources on the PBS Learning Media site. And so there's just lots of links here to kind of check out. One that I really wanted to point out too was the storyboard template. Sometimes I think it can be really helpful. We noticed in the beginning of that video that we watched earlier, they weren't just kind of jumping right in. They were really being thoughtful and intentional about what they were creating and planning it out. And I think sometimes a template like this can be really helpful to students as they're kind of planning out the important things that they want to share. I think this template could be useful for lots of media projects, not just necessarily stop motion. So just wanted to be sure that you saw all of the links on this slide here that will lead you to some really great resources and ideas.
Yeah, Tracy, I'll just add, I don't know if it came up in that video we showed earlier from PBS Learning Media, but the concept that those teachers were trying to teach was to have kids talk about the history of child labor. And so taking like a big concept like that and then having them break it down into some basic concepts for a stop motion is really interesting, kind of like the fusion fission videos there. But then also like the idea of a family tree and describing how people are related or where they came from. I think that there's a lot of possibilities with taking a large concept and animating it in a way that you're explaining it to maybe a different audience. So I'm going to go through our partner resources. As I said earlier, we have two amazing partners in this project who were generous enough to help us promote it and to share some great educational resources, and we want to share those. The first set of resources is from the Montana Historical Society, and you were here last week. You met Zoe, and she emailed me with these specific links that she thought went with our theme of this, having kids talk to their families and do some research about some of the unique things in their families. And so these links, if you're on our slides, you can click directly on these links and find these activities. There are oral history mini footlockers that can be checked out from the Historical Society. And this link is to the guide that goes with those footlockers. And the lessons, I think, even if you didn't have the footlocker and you were to look at these lessons about how to, it gives you step by step of how to do an oral history project with your students and all the things that you would want to think about. So sometimes we really just need to see what somebody else did. And so I was really grateful that she provided that link in this one. This one, I will admit that I geeked out a little bit on, because this is a resource that, I'm going to stop presenting so I can show you my notes. It's called the BLM GLO Records. And this is for, if you know of a family that homesteaded in Montana, you can type in their information here and it'll bring up some of the records of that original homestead. And so I did this with my family because my great-grandpa immigrated here from Norway. And when I put in our last name, Appland, there's my great-grandpa's land and the parcels that he owned there in Blaine County, the lot size and the specific sections. And I sent it to my dad and was like, Dad, look at this. There's great-grandpa's land. And it's not in the family anymore, but it was very cool to see these records. And when you click on the actual record, it shows you a little map about latitude and longitude. It also shows the patent image, so we can see the original documents of the patent when he got them and when it loads. Or you can buy the certified copy if you want to. But there it is with his name and signatures and all of that. So it was a cool family primary source. My dad hadn't seen that before either. And what was very interesting is there's another person with our last name that had land in Fergus County, and we were stumped because, to our knowledge, we were the only Applins in Montana. And now here we've got someone with this Eric Applin that we did not know was there. So fun new research for us. So that's that BLM GLO records. If you're looking at homesteading families, you can do that. She also gave the digitized newspapers online that is for free for Montana families. So you can look at digitized newspapers, or with a subscription, you can go to newspapers.com. And then the family search option that is free, as well as ancestry.com, where there's a subscription. So I think sometimes we just need a place to start. Where do I even go with having kids research their families or their family name? You know, a kid might not even know if their family name homesteaded in Montana, and so this site might be a great one, or looking at a particular relative to see if they were ever in the newspaper. And that's what they do on Finding Your Roots, is all of those genealogists go to newspapers and look through the census and look through documents to try and find anything that they can uncover. So those resources are right there. The next partner is Humanities Montana. And if you were with us last time, I shared about this resource. And Tracy has a good friend that works for Humanities Montana. So if you want to pop in and talk about it from what you know, Tracy. But they have this program called Speakers in Schools. And this is where they have professional storytellers from across the state, and some of them outside of the state, who will connect with you and your students and do some storytelling on different topics. All of these are virtual right now because of COVID. But honestly, I think that in a way makes it more accessible and more convenient. There is a fee for this, but that is entirely dependent on your school and the budget and all of that. And so they really encourage you to reach out and see about. They will work with you to make it affordable for your school. And thank you so much for coming. Next week, our friend Jody, who's here tonight from Twin Bridges, is going to be sharing about what I will probably always call it Adobe Spark, because that's what it was, but now it's called Adobe Cloud Express. And she's going to teach us about Adobe Spark and how to use that. And she's got some cool things that she's been doing with this app with her high school business students. So I hope you'll join us next week. Tracy, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. I always learn so much from you, and what a fun, creative way to use this app.
Thanks for giving me a reason to dust it off and start. Now I'm like, okay, who wants to do stop motion? It is so fun.
Mm-hmm. Yes, super fun, very easy to use, lots of versatility with this one. So thanks, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time.